Hello everyone, this is Python week number 3 by Akshat. So what's our agenda for today? So first I'm going to introduce you guys to lists, then dictionaries, and the purpose that comments serve in coding. So let's get into it. So what are lists? Similar to how your parents might make a list of groceries, coders also require to make a list of data for their programs. Lists can be used to store multiple items under one variable name, and we can access certain data by using an index. So let's look at an example. So currently we have a list with the variable name myList, and it's equal to these type of braces: apple, banana, cherry. Keep in mind that these are all strings, and how we indicate that they're different indexes is commas. So do not forget that. Now let's say that we want to access the apple string in my list. So how would we do this? So how we would approach this is first write out the list name, which is my list, then put the braces, and inside of the braces we put the 0 because it's in the 0th index. And as a result, we can see that we printed apple. So let's look at this much more deeper. So if you want to access the first data point in our list, our index value has to be 0. For the second data point, it would be 1. For the third data point, it would be 2, and so on. Now let's say we wanted to add an item to our list. So how we would do this is you'd do the list name, which is myList, dot append, which is a built-in Python library, which allows you to add items to your list, and inside of the parentheses, you write down the item that you want to add. In this case, we have orange, and our new list will become apple, banana, cherry, and then finally orange. So now let's look at some other libraries that are provided for list. So the first one would be changing a list item. So how you change a list item would be first you have to access a certain index, in this case the first index. So you'd write out the variable name this list, index 1, which is currently storing banana. However, we're going to give it a new value of blackcurrant, and it would change to apple, blackcurrant, and then cherry. Now let's say we want to insert an item at a certain index. How we would do this is obviously we have our previous list, and we would use another Python library, which is this list.insert, and our first parameter is the index that we want to change. So the second index would be cherry, or what's being stored inside of it currently. And we're going to change it now to watermelon. Now what our list is going to be is apple, banana, watermelon, and then cherry. So now let's say we want to remove an item at a certain index. How we would do this is use another built-in library of Pythons and do the name of the list, .pop, and the index that we want to remove. So our new thing would become apple and then cherry. Now let's say we want to sort a list alphanumerically. When I say alphanumerically, I mean either organize it based on integer numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, or organize it by the alphabet such as apple, then banana, then cucumber, and so on. So how we would do this is write out the name of the list and then do .sort. So now let's do some practice. Let's ask the user which index they want to change from a list. Then we also have to ask the user the new value that they want at that specific index. And finally, we print out the list as a new object. So now we should use either this change or this change. In this case, let's use the change a list item. Now pause the video and attempt on figuring this out. Alright, so now let's get into figuring out what our index is. So our index is probably going to be an integer because it's going to be the number 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So we'll do int input, and then we'll write out our question as enter index. And let me just copy this code, and it's going to be quite similar for the value as well. However, for our value, it's going to be a string, and we're going to say enter value. Let's make a pre-existing list, which we can later modify. So we'll make a list and make sure that you use these type of braces. Now let's put it as orange, watermelon. We can also put cherry, and so on. You get the general gist of it, right? So now let's say we want to change the list at the index, which is basically where we store the number like 0, 1, or 2 inside the variable index, right? And we're going to make the new value equal to value, which is the value that the user provides to us. So if you're confused, try to understand this code once again and review anything else that you need. Alright, so enter index. So let's say we want to enter 1. Enter value, orange. Okay. However, nothing printed. Why is that? Oh, it's because we didn't have a print function at the end of our code. So let's do that. Print list. Alright, so now let's do it. So enter index. Let's say 1 again. This time we'll do kiwi. And as you can see, we have orange, kiwi, and then finally cherry. And that's how you'd approach this. Now let's talk about dictionaries. So what are dictionaries? Dictionaries are similar to lists. However, in this case, we access dictionary values based on their keys. So what do I mean by keys? So let's look at this example of a dictionary. So first to note is that we have a different type of braces, and it's important to note the difference for dictionary type of braces and then the braces of a list. Then we have we have apostrophe brand, which is our key, colon, and then the value, which is Ford. So basically how we access a dictionary's value is by writing out its key. So let's look at an example. So we have this dict brand, right? However, you can notice that we have the same braces as we did for list. However, the different thing is that rather than using an index, we're using a key now. So if we did this dict brand, we would get Ford. Another thing to acknowledge about dictionaries is that it's a collection of data which is ordered, changeable. However, you can't have duplicates, meaning you can't have two of the same name for the keys. So let's get into it. So now let's say we want to add an item to a dictionary. So if we want to add an item to a dictionary, we would just do this dict, which is the dictionary's name, then the braces, and we would put the name of the new key that we want, and then make that equal to our new value pair for it. Let's say we wanted to delete an item. Similar to a list, we would use the .pop method, which we did for libraries. So we do this dict .pop, and instead of an index, we put a key. Now let's do some practice. Using input given from the user, let's make a dictionary about a car, which tells you info about its brand, model, year made, and then finally, color. Now let's begin our assignment for dictionaries. So first, let's talk about a brand. So what type of brand would we think of? Let's say Ford, Mustang, and so on. These are all strings, and we would make it a str. Then our standard input, which is a built-in library, and enter brand. Now we're just going to copy this syntax for the next 3 and modify it based on what's needed. Alright, so now let's do model. Model would be, what type of model is it? Like, is it a Camry, a Toyota Camry, or a Prius? What is it? So that would also be a string, and we would do enter model. Perfect. Now let's do year made. So this would be 2019, 2018, which is usually an integer. So we would do int, and then we would make it enter year made. Perfect. Now we would do enter color, and color is usually red, blue, and so on, which are all strings. So now let's make our dictionary. So we'll make the name of the dictionary equal to car, then put our braces, which is a syntax for dictionaries, then put a string as our key, which would be brand, and then the value pair would be the variable brand, then comma, then we would do model, and the value pair model, which is a variable, then year underscore made, and year underscore made, comma, and then color, colon, and color. As you can see, this is how we would do it. And if you have some confusions, go review the syntax for what a dictionary is. So let's see if it works. So Toyota, Camry, 2019, and let's say red. Let's see if it works. Oh, we forgot to print it. So let's print our dictionary. So let's do print and then car. So now let's run it. Toyota, Camry, 2019, and then red. As you can see, we got our key for brand, and then the value pair is Toyota, model, Camry, year made, 2019, color, red, and so on. So this is how you would approach this problem. Alright, so now for the final part of today, we're going to talk about comments. So all great coders use comments as they tell other people who view your code what's happening. It can also give coders a deeper explanation of why your process might be optimal than other solutions that they might have, or some other process that they prefer. And it can allow them to also ramp up much faster and understand how your code is functioning, and maybe even help you in your project to achieve the end goal. So now what is the syntax for comments? So well, the comment is used as you first put a hash at the start of the line, and then you explain your code where you can write whatever you want, and this allows for people viewing your code to read all of that code. However, it doesn't interfere with the compiler, the interpreter, as I should be saying, and allows people to ramp up much faster. So if you guys have any more confusions of today, just make sure to review the video or maybe leave some comments down below and I'll be happy to answer them. See you guys in the